Good morning, everyone. Today I want to share a tool with you that I think you'll be super excited about. The tool allows you to build and create lessons around particular videos. And not only can you build your own lesson, but you can find lessons that are already created. So if you want to grab something and use it as it is, you're free to do that. Or if you want to customize something that's already created, you're free to do that. But what we're going to learn how to do today is to build your own lesson. The first thing you'll need to do is to go to ed.ted.com. Once you go there, you go through some questions and create your account, and then you log in. Once you log in, you'll notice your name in the top right corner, and then you'll see these 4 tabs, you'll see these lessons here, and you'll be able to start navigating the website. So the first thing you might do is take a look at some of the lessons, but feel free to go to any part of the site that you feel like that you feel like might be interesting to you. So we'll click on lessons, and here we can find different lessons that are already created. So some of them will be animations while others will be actual videos. And let's click on one of these animations. So you notice that all the lessons are going to start with let's begin. And this part is a statement. It could be a question. So if we think about what we did yesterday, maybe this is where you put that hook question, that question that leads us up to that compelling question. So here, once the students read that let's begin or answer that question or think about that question, they watch the video and they just press play. And we'll fast forward a little so you can see some of it. Now, the next thing that happens once the student has watched the video is that they select think. And notice that pop-up says 5 multiple choice and 3 open-ended questions. And that's what the think section is all about. So the students watch the video. Now they have very specific and targeted questions that you've created around that video based on that framework of how to build questions that we talked about yesterday. So the student will answer the questions one by one and click through. And once they've gone through all the questions, they can go to the next section, which is called Dig Deeper. In the Dig Deeper section, you give them more to learn. Maybe you take them out to a website that has more information. Maybe it's a podcast, but it's some other resource or some other statement about the topic, some other insight that you would give the student. The next part would be the discussion section. And you click on discuss, and you can actually have the students do an online discussion. And finally, there's a section that's called and finally, but this particular lesson doesn't have that. So there are certain, you don't have to do every single part of the lesson, and we'll see that in a minute when we start to create our lesson. So, but definitely you'll do the let's begin, watch the video, the think, the dig deeper. And you may or may not do the discussion and the and finally, but you could if you wanted to. And then the discussion could be where you switch to the whole class instruction and you go back to talking and students conversing with each other. Either way you decide to do it, well, it should work perfectly. All right, so let's think about how to create our lesson then. So the first thing you would want to do is think about finding a video. And there's 4 ways that you can get a video. One of those ways is what I would call a hack, because we figure out a way around the 3 options that we're given. So the 3 options that we're given here is TED Ed Original, TED Talk, and then a YouTube video. Now the 4th way is to go out and find a video, whether you download it from a particular website or is something that you have from a CD or something like that. As long as you don't violate any copyright, you can take that video and then upload it to YouTube. And I have another video lesson that will show you how to download videos from a website if you wanted to find one somewhere. Now once you have the video and you know how you're going to get students to learn the content or to understand the concept that you want them to understand, then you're ready to build your lesson. So let's select create a lesson, which will be step 1. Now we have to find that video, and that video should be in one of those 3 places I mentioned, or you got it from a 4th place and then you put it into YouTube. Now I know exactly where my video is, and I could search for a video here. I could type in a topic, but since I already know what my video is, I'm just going to paste the link that I copied because I found it on YouTube already. And then I'll hit enter. Now that video pops up, and notice that it's teaching with primary sources, and the Library of Congress has a YouTube channel, so I went there and found this video. Now it wants me to select a video, so I just select the video. Then it takes me to the 3rd step, which is to get started with creating the lesson. And then I select Launch Lesson Editor. So in the lesson editor, you notice at the top it puts the title of the video that you found. It wants you to create a let's begin. Now my let's begin might be something like, why are you So excited about primary resources, or I should say sources. So that's the hook for you to think about that before you get started. The next thing you'll do is actually watch the video. And again, you just press play. So we'll pause here. Now, again, you watch the video first, and the next thing you would do is to start to build the questions. And notice here, you can choose to exclude any of the sections that you don't want. So if you think that you don't need this extra section, you can just select exclude, and now that's not part of it. Or if you thought you think the discussion should happen, you huddle around on the floor or circle up or go to your desk or get in small groups, you can get rid of that section as well. But when you're ready to work on a section, you just select it. So here's the think section, and this is where you create your questions. So notice you can do multiple choice as well as open answer, and that's just a mix of questions. And maybe you use that framework that we talked about yesterday to help guide your questions. And let's choose multiple choice first. My first question I'll type will be something about the video, and then I'll let you answer that question. Once you type your question, if you wanted to give students a hint as to somewhere in the video where they could watch again to get more, to hear the information again, you could type that here, and then the student could click on that and go to that particular section of the video. Next, we want to add our answers. So once I finish typing my question, I only put 3 here, but notice you can go down to at least 5, but you have to have at least 2. And then we'll put the correct answer, and once I'm satisfied with that question, I'll click here, and I can go back to make changes if I need to, or if I'm happy with it, I can select save, and then I can create another question. And all I need to do is to select this icon, and now I can go to open-ended. And once we finish typing our question here, we click save, and now I have 2 questions. And once I have up to 15 questions, and once I've made as many questions as I want, I can go on to the next section, which is to dig deeper. And in the dig deeper section, you might want to provide some resources such as going to a website, or maybe you want them to think about an image again. So let's insert an image, because I can do that if I go here. And notice I can choose an image from somewhere else. I can grab a link if I already know where the image is. So if I go to Flickr and find an image, I can put that link in, or I could upload from my computer. And I'll choose File here. And we'll go to Desktop. And now I can choose an image that I want to upload. So let's select this image. And now I can ask questions around this image like we did with the images yesterday. This looks to be pretty fancy, so you can ask different types of questions. And this comes from the Du Bois collection. So again, we can talk about why she's dressed that way. We can start asking those questions and why she's posed in that way. As Sandy mentioned, this one looks more like they did that actual pose, and she held that for a little while, and she has a little costume going on. So you could ask all kinds of questions here. And you can also put some text here as well, and you can just start typing. And so that's your dig deeper section. And then the discuss section. So here's where you can create and add discussion. So if you wanted students to chime in, maybe you're using this as a station, and you have groups of students going to a set of computers and rotating out to other venues in your classroom, and each time they go, in each group that goes to your station where this TED lesson is, they add to this discussion, and then maybe they come back in to talk about it further. But that's where you would add those questions. Now, once you've finished, if you decide you don't want to add anything else, you just select Publish. And now that lesson is ready to go. I can share it via email. I could type an email address in here. But if you're working with younger students, they might not have email addresses, so you would just pull this up, let's say, and use it as whole class instruction. So you pull this lesson up on the smartboard, and maybe you have students come up and tap the answers to the questions that are multiple choice, and or maybe you have them write answers to the open-ended questions at their desk and save it until you get to the end of the video. So this could be whole class instruction. It could be individual student instruction, meaning they sit at the computers and work independently and then come back and discuss what they learn, or it can be in stations like I mentioned, and you move around in groups. So however you might want to use something like this, you're free to do that. And that's how you build a TED Ed lesson. And now all you need to do is to get an idea and get started. One last thing to show you is that there's a link right here that you can use. And if you click on copy to clipboard, it'll do that for you. And now it's copied that link, and you can take it to your website and paste it. If you're with older students and you use Twitter in your classroom, you could tweet out the lesson and they could do it on their own. They could really do this on a mobile device, on a phone, any kind of phone that allow that. So there's a lot of options for using a TED Ed platform.